Hello everyone! This is a easy, cheap, 12 luscious layered Death by Chocolate cake. The total product cost of this cake is around $8. I'm going to show you how to build this beautiful, delicious cake step by step using simple techniques so you can blow your guests away. They will be shocked this didn't come from a fancy bakery. But first, a little backstory. I used to make this cake in my community along with other cheesecakes and yummy goodies, but this was definitely my #1 seller. Now first I'll run through the simple ingredients, which are the 2 chocolate box cakes, 6 eggs, 1 cup of canola oil, 2 cups of water, 3 cups of heavy cream, 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and about 2 cups of powdered sugar, a half of cup of cocoa powder, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now first you're going to start off with making the cake mixes. Follow the directions on the box, but of course they are usually 1 cup of water per box, a half a cup of oil per box, and 3 eggs per box. So the way I make these cakes is to start with the wet ingredients first. I don't mix them separately because there's really no need for that extra step. So I start off with the 2 cups of water, 1 cup of oil, and you can also add the 6 eggs at this point. And of course you can mix this by hand or whatever mixer you have. Give that a good mix and then start slowly adding in the cake mix. Now the easiest way to build this cake is to use a spring form pan. And then you're going to line it with either parchment paper or wax paper. It doesn't really matter, but this is a critical step, and you'll see why later. And then you can spray or grease it, add half of the cake mix, just eyeball it. It does not have to be perfect. This cake is very forgiving later on. Now you can add them to a 350-degree preheated oven. And if you only have 1 springform pan, that is perfectly fine. Just cook 1 at a time. And of course, look at the directions on your box, but this should take about 30 minutes to cook all the way through. And of course, always prick it with a toothpick in the middle to make sure it comes up clean. That is how you know it is done. And once it cools a little bit, you can open the springform pan and transfer the cake by the paper to another flat surface. Now while the cakes are cooling, you can make the chocolate whipped cream icing. Start with about 1/4 of a cup of cocoa powder and 1 cup of powdered sugar. Then slowly start to whip it and then slowly start to add 2 cups of heavy cream and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now you're going to want to start whipping this on low at first, and then when it starts to thicken, you can move it up to medium and then high. And then it'll be finished once it's nice and fluffy. Now once the cakes are cooled down, you can start building the cake. It will be helpful if you have a cake turntable, but if not, that's totally fine. You can always use it on the platter, whatever you're going to be serving your cake on. Now you're going to start removing the top part because we are not going to be using this part. And then you're going to slice the first layer now really thin. And then you're going to use the bottom of the springform pan to transfer the first layer of cake. And then you're going to cut the second layer. And like I said earlier, if you make a mistake, don't get discouraged. You'll see here how I made this too thin and it broke. Now you're going to move that aside and you're going to add some icing to the turntable or the cake plate, whatever you're using. That way the cake stays still and in place. And then you're going to transfer the first layer of cake to the icing from the bottom of the cake pan. Now you're going to add about a 1/2 cup to a cup of icing to spread, and it's really helpful if you have an angled spatula. Now you can add your second layer which is really the third layer. And like I said, if it's broken, just push it into the icing the best you can. No one will ever know. It'll be our little secret. And now the third layer that's on the paper, you're going to flip that on the bottom of the pan. And then you can peel off the paper. And then add another layer of the icing and then the next cake layer. And repeat until stacked high. Now please do not worry if it looks like a sloppy mess. You can straighten it up a bit, so feel free to do that if you'd like. And get ready to ice the entire cake, hiding any flaws. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect at first because we're going to be smoothing it out later. And if you didn't know already, I have really bad tremors 24/7. So if I can do this, I know you can do this too. Now when you smooth it out, you're going to keep your elbow up in the air as you smooth the entire cake around in a circle. And then to make it look even better, you can clean up and wipe the sides with little pieces of paper towel. So now we can spread the remaining icing, and remember, this does not have to be perfect because it's going to be covered with chocolate ganache. And now you could put the cake aside, and we're going to start making the chocolate ganache. Now you can grab a little pot and start with 1 cup of heavy cream on a medium heat and bring it to a boil. Once it starts to bubble, you can add about 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips and keep stirring constantly until it's completely melted. And then you're going to need this to cool for about an hour, and then you can spoon it over the cake and let it drip down the sides. Now once the ganache is cooled, it will slightly harden just a little bit, and then you can start to cut into it and then serve at any time. If you love chocolate, you must try this recipe. It's totally worth it. So as always, if you try this recipe, please let me know in the comments below. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching.